It is 7:44 now. A federal judge does not plan to stop the execution of a South Carolina inmate who's scheduled to be put to death tomorrow. Stephen Stanko's attorneys were in court on Wednesday working to get their client's execution halted. The judge limited arguments to just lethal injection, since that's the method the condemned inmate chose for his death tomorrow.
Stanko's attorneys said inmates in the past 3 lethal injection executions died a lingering death because they felt like they were drowning when fluid rushed into their lungs. The judge ruled that the attorneys didn't have evidence that there are problems with the execution process.
Queen City News Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes joining us now to talk about this legal fight here. And Khalif, the interesting part is, yes, there were issues with those lethal injections, but they weren't in South Carolina. And the judge kind of pinpointed, like, okay, maybe there were issues there, but I need something from South Carolina. Was that kind of the hinge that he kind of said, okay, there's not enough evidence there?
100%. I mean, not just a speculation. He clearly said it in his ruling. He said that, listen, you may point to these other states, but nothing in South Carolina says that we've had any botched type of incidents here, even though they mentioned the other 3 that were done with lethal injection, how there were some additional things that were needed to do it. He's looking for more evidence. I mean, you have a couple of things when you're trying to get a death penalty stopped. The first thing you do was ask for an appeal based on the evidence, based on the original case. Maybe there was ineffective assistance of counsel. Maybe the judge allowed things improperly. But they're not even doing that in this case. They're actually attacking the process and the procedure. So at the very beginning of this hearing, the judge said, look, this will only be narrowly tailored to specifically lethal injection. Don't even bring in firing squad stuff, because they had a lot of information about the firing squad, specifically because they're saying their client only picked lethal injection because of the mishaps from the most recent firing squad death penalty that was taken, or execution that was done. And so my thought process is, well, then you need to have a lot of evidence to support why this lethal injection doesn't work or should not be used, or why the process isn't followed. And the judge said that they didn't have enough of that.
Khalif, this conversation is not about whether you believe in capital punishment or not, the death penalty. This is not where I'm trying to go with this. But I'm curious what a death row inmate's rights are, because there are many that feel like eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, you took a life. You know, what does it matter if there's pain involved, if you're being executed? So what right does an inmate have other than choosing what type of method that they're executed with?
I love that question. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't lose their rights because they become a inmate. They don't lose their rights because they become a death penalty inmate. At the end of the day, there are due process rights as a citizen of this country, and you don't lose those rights. You lose some rights, the right to vote, right to bear arms, but while as an inmate, you still have that constitutional protection to due process and the protection against fair and cruel and unusual punishment. Yeah, this person is sitting on death row because he killed someone, raped a person, attempted to kill a third person. So this is their heinous crimes that he's even convicted of. But during the process, you want to ensure that we are following the steps to humanely kill someone, if that's the goal that we're going to do in that situation. And so they listed a couple of things, specifically that the last person that was death by firing squad, they nearly missed their heart. The other portion with the lethal injection, they point to that they use 1 dose in their policy and procedure, but they're stating that multiple times they had to use 2 large doses. And so they're saying that if your policy says you're only supposed to use 1, why are you using multiple? The judge didn't think that was a good argument, and this is not the first judge to think that. Supreme Court in their state said the exact same thing. Supreme Court of South Carolina has already ruled on this and denied any appeal. So now they've went the federal route. This is just the process that you put in place to ensure that a person's due process rights are protected.
And we talk about a lot of these death row cases being appealed again, again, and again. They get pushed back. This person is set to be executed days from now. What's left for lawyers, or is this the final say? No, they have 1 more, at least I should say 2 more attempts. So they'll have a guarantee appeal. They mentioned that yesterday, that I will appeal to the Court of Appeals, and so the U.S. Court of Appeals can address this and attempt to hear this. But then they have a potential shot at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court doesn't have to grant cert and allow this to be heard at all. So their only guaranteed next process would be to the Court of Appeals. But this is what lawyers do. Jason, to your point, when I was down in Atlanta from the beginning out of law school, my director said, listen, most of the time your job is to ensure that a person's rights are protected. Like, even if they are dead to right guilty, your goal is to ensure that the state plays by the rules, that the U.S. attorneys play by the rule. And in this situation, that's exactly what happened. They're asking for that.
As an attorney, it's more like you're defending the Constitution, not the person. So, exactly. Yeah, interesting. All right, Khalif, thanks. Appreciate that.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.